you to help? I'll be your help like I'm not helping kids.
Okay.
So, hang on.
What's a random?
What do we got? From last day, we were doing the contract model of healthcare, in which you have a written contract that says what will and will not be covered and some of the problems associated with that. It is the model most often used in the U.S. This was actually something I was discussing with Chemistry 12, so move on. Although, I think I showed this in class. Survivorship bias. Did I mention this in survivorship bias? There's also, this is also related to when you talk to people what they should do for their life. If you're talking to someone and they're on a talk show and they're like, yeah, I'm a famous actor. Here's what you need to do to become a famous actor. Do not listen to anything they say. They are a victim of survivorship bias. There are thousands of people that want to be a famous actor, and most of them don't make it. The one who does had a healthy dose of luck. It's a bit like going to a lottery ticket winner and saying, so, what should my financial investments be to be as rich as you are? And they'll tell you to buy lottery tickets. And that is terrible financial advice. This is a famous illustration of it. These are the planes that would arrive back into the UK after being over and doing their bombing run. And then they were going to apply extra armor plating to help them survive more. And at first, where would we put the armor plating? Not you, because I think you've seen this diagram before by the light in your eyes. Yes?
Like on the places that aren't red, because
Have you seen this before? But keep going.
no, but like, because are those the ones that have been brought back?
Yeah.
So then technically, if they've survived already, if they're like that. So
Yeah.
like the ones that haven't been, I mean, I'm just assuming, but the ones that
Yeah.
haven't been hit,
If you never get
you gotta cover the places where they haven't.
where they haven't been. If you never get a plane back that's been shot there, that means planes that are shot there don't come back,
Yeah.
which makes sense. That's the engines. They were originally going to armor these areas because those are the areas they could see the damage in. And a statistician pointed out, no, you armor the areas they're not hit because those turn out to be the most valuable areas. You have survivorship bias. You don't have a complete sample. You're not doing everything. And that's why I think we should have 4 classes on Friday.
I disagree.
On Friday, we're canceling last block. Why are we canceling last block? Because last block, before regatta, all the students are hyped about regatta and they want to leave. Like, why do we have to be here? And all the rowers are taking off. And so they canceled the last block. So what happens to second block?
It's the last one.
It's the last block. And they're like, I don't want to be here. And the rowers are all leaving. And why don't we cancel second block? And then it just goes back. Whereas my idea is we add a 4th block. And that adds as the buffer block. And then the 4th block, you'd be like, well, I don't want to be here. And we just tell the teachers, that's a nonsense block. Do whatever you want. If after a little bit of time people are leaving, who cares? And then we just use that for everybody to use their pent-up frustrations in. Because when we're reacting to the situation in 3rd block, the temptation is to cancel it. But then that just shifts the problem down. Add more blocks. I should really be in charge. I have great ideas like this all the time, but unfortunately, nobody pays any attention to me.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. So, as I've said before, also don't believe anything I say. But, sorry, what?
You should be Roger's house captain.
Is that the tax
Rogers
evasion
house
flag?
captain?
Yes.
What?
I'd have to then do what Mr. Snow told me to.
I don't think you want to do that.
I think there's a level of malicious compliance that would be hilarious, but I might die.
Dude, is that the tax evasion pride flag on the top side?
The tax evasion pride flag?
Yeah, that one.
What?
Oh no.
Join Wikipedia and help improve your geographical located. I don't know. But it's not the tax evasion. Okay.
Tax evasion, search it up. It's crazy.
Focusing. Notes. Looking this way.
How can you
No. I didn't call in your hand. I said focus. Notes. We're going to start. Please not be writing on the whiteboard.
I would never.
Thank you. Put that away. We left off here looking at contractual health care. I'm going to mention the U.S. system a lot. Mostly because we're Canadian, and that's what we compare ourselves to all the time. They're a great example of contract healthcare. There's other countries who've got good data on the S. I also want to emphasize, because I'm going to show some things that shows like their healthcare isn't the best. Canadian healthcare isn't the best in many areas as well. And despite whatever I may think or what I may say about American healthcare is very good. I know someone who's traveling through the U.S. and they were worried about cost. Their child became very sick while they were there. They went to a hospital and they're like, oh my God, will my traveler's insurance cover this? And the emergency room was basically like, here, they fixed it. Here's the medication you need for the rest of your trip. And they're like, how much do I owe you? And like, here's my insurance. And they're like, we don't care. Just like, go away. Because the emergency rooms are there to treat people. The doctors and nurses are there to treat people. They don't really care what things cost, and they're just trying to get through. Emergency care in the U.S. is free to get. You can walk into any emergency room, doesn't matter who you are, they will treat you. You might get a bill afterwards, and there might be costs after that, but they will always treat you. So there is no refusal of care in the U.S. based on the fact that you can't pay. So in a sense, they do have universal health care. It's just at the emergency room for sure. If you have a long-term illness and you need like chemotherapy, that's not an emergency room treatment, so that is where some of the things can fall down. But when we're talking about contract healthcare, as they have it through their employment, it's a very pure contract system. You have written down what they'll cover, and then they have what they'll pay. If it's not on there, they won't pay for it. It costs a certain amount. And so we have data now on lots of countries for multiple years. This is the amount per capita. So U.S. healthcare, this is purportedly per person. So it's normalized in a year. This is how much it costs to treat people in the U.S. in 2018. It was $10,447. As of today, it was $12,555. Every country tends to go up over time because, of course, things become more expensive and inflation. So number one is U.S. It is number one by a long way. Switzerland being number two, Norway, Germany, Australia. Canada is up there. In terms, we have what's considered relatively expensive healthcare. We're in the top 10, but we're about, less than half of what the Americans get. When we talk about life expectancy, so you can use any particular thing that you'd like to do. You can, life expectancy is a quick way to see how good is the healthcare in that country. You could do infant mortality rates. But the more specific you get, the more, hold it, am I, countries and territories, life expectancy, 2021, that's what I want, all, not male or female. So, this is the bottom of the list, Chad. I don't know social studies very well, so I'm not entirely sure what a special administrative region is and why it's separate from China's healthcare. So I tend to kind of ignore it, but, and I don't know if people there get better healthcare or less healthcare and how that works out in costs. I also didn't see it on the cost list, so I'm going to ignore that for now. But people are there, living there for a long time. Japan, people tend to live till 84.5. This is also just one particular group. So you can go to like World Health Organization, get slightly different numbers because people measure it in different ways. So this is not saying this is the best data. But if we're looking at where we're getting, Switzerland and Japan have reasonably good healthcare. They're up here. How much do they pay for that healthcare? Switzerland pays the second highest amount, but they're in the top 4 for the amount of healthcare they're getting. So reasonable investment. And the other one was Switzerland. So where is Switzerland on here? No, not Switzerland. Japan. So Japan is paying the 15th highest amount, but is getting the 3rd highest life expectancy. Pretty good. Now, there's also objections. There could be cultural reasons, life expectancy, diet, all sorts of things. We're looking at raw data, so any one country may not be a perfect view. Yes, question, Timmy.
What's the least amount for a country?
The least amount that is paid, or the lowest life expectancy?
That's paid.
Less paid? I think that was that
Chad was
lowest life? Australia. Not bad.
I don't
No, hold it. That's not that. Mexico in 2018.
What about life expectancy?
So Mexico and life expectancy. Now I want to make this smaller so we can see more of this. Can you still see?
Yeah.
Enough to see the little flags in any way? So if we find Canada and the US on this,
There's nothing yet there.
stop me when you see Canada.
You passed it.
Did I?
22.
Pause.
Pause. Where's Canada?
22.
There it is. So our 81, top is 85. Where's top 10, 22? Not great. Stop me when you find the US.
Pause.
59.
59.
59. There we go. 76. Now, again, 76 is near 80. These are not terrible, terrible numbers. But for the amount they pay, they should be getting a lot more out of it. The other part of contract healthcare is it puts a profit motive in. And as soon as you have a profit motive, you have red tape, bureaucracy, and people extracting the value and then paying it to their shareholders. And so it's more expensive per. That doesn't mean it's bad. One of the countries on there who pays a lot, but also gets really good health care. Where are we at? No. Did I? Oh, I pressed location. That's why. Switzerland, I believe, has a dual model where they have private healthcare. They don't have quite as heavy into the contract side, but it is private healthcare. And they have public healthcare, and they have a merger of the systems. It turns out to be more expensive. But they also get, no, don't restart my computer. It also tends to be fairly good healthcare. So there's different models that you can do, and again, localized things. But when you look at the extreme there, we do worry about the profit motive in healthcare. If you're extracting value out of someone's sickness, it tends to lead to less healthcare. This is just to give some of a historical reason, because Canada hasn't had our system for very long. 1966, basically Saskatchewan said, hey, Tommy Douglas grew up not being able to get knee surgery from, I believe it was a birth condition, and then he became Premier of Saskatchewan, and he said, we should be able to provide health care. And Canada, being a rural country by and large, if you had a couple years of bad crops in Alberta or Saskatchewan or any of those prairie provinces, then their health care would go down because they couldn't provide medical services. But countries that didn't worry about cash crops, like, not countries, provinces, like BC, would still have money. And they said during the good times, when they have good crops, those prairie provinces should be contributing more overall. And during the bad times, provinces like BC would be contributing. If we average it out, everybody will get better health care. Let's make a single payer model. After Tommy Douglas got that going in 1962, federal government started in 1966. This is not that long ago. This is like, my parents were born before this time, so for me it's one generation, for you it's two generations. And at that time, they got it going. In the overall process, when Canada did that, the doctors fought hard. Doctors told Canadian politicians that if you pass this law, we won't treat you. If you come into our hospital and your kid is sick, your kid will die. We are not going to treat you. We do not want universalized health care. They really, really hated the idea. It was a minority government, so they couldn't pass it as a majority of the people who were in power federally, so they managed to get cooperation from all the different groups. The government kind of thought that they made a lot of concessions. They built a very good piece of legislation because they had to appease all these different sides, so it had a lot of eyeballs on it. It's managed to last. But we used to have a system very similar to the States. The States at this time also had similar kinds of systems going, but there's something that happened in the 50s and 60s that caused us to veer into two different directions. What was going on politically in the 50s and 60s? Yes? The Cold War. And this guy came around. Love this guy. Do we have sound? Don't think we have sound.
Disagree with the original premise that
Why
should be some
is it on there?
saving that would keep destitution from following unemployment by reason of death, disability, or old age. And to this end, Social Security was adopted.
Come on.
But it was never intended to supplant private savings, private insurance, pension programs of unions and industries.
Oh, this is dumb.
Now in our country, under our free enterprise system, we have seen
Apparently it doesn't know that the speakers exist, so I may not show this.
that any country in the world.
Good thing we weren't doing a show today. Oh, it doesn't even see the speakers. Good God. Okay.
Every vault series explains. Follow Lord.
Does anybody know who that is?
Ronald Reagan.
It's Ronald Reagan. And at this point, he's not Ronald Reagan, the president. He's Ronald Reagan, the cowboy western star, actor. Telling people on radio, because he had been hired to, about the dangers of socialism. And that very soon, the socialists and the commies would be able to tell you which hospital you were allowed to go to, which hospitals you weren't allowed to go to, what hospitals doctors were allowed to work at, telling them where they could work, and what schools eventually your kids would be able to go to, and eventually your kids would not have choice over what employment they would have because the government would tell them what to do. There was a big scare about communism, so they backed away from anything and went to full on into a capitalistic model. And so that's the historical context if you're wondering how they got there. It has never been completely that way, but it has always been a little bit that way. This just goes into it. I think it was so I didn't forget the name Tommy Douglas. But, that means I'm not going to be able to show you
What happens with Indian
that
band?
other YouTube video.
Huh? Indian band. I don't think so. Fake news. Listen, Supreme Court was Idaho abortion ban. Missiles.
No, it's not going to work. Sorry, without the sound, there's another video I actually want to show you. It'll take about 10 minutes, but maybe we'll just do it as a group exercise. Ignore the costs. You are a doctor providing a service that is done just like providing food at a restaurant or contract to your house. There's a contract, you provide a service, you have patients that are customers. What would be different about that interaction? Because you have a doctor-customer interaction that might cause problems for the doctors in addition to the patients, because this is now a doctor focus. There are some very specific complaints. There's a YouTube doctor that's semi-famous. He had a thing on this I was going to play, but given that the speakers aren't working, I won't. If you could get into your little groups right now, think about what kind of interactions restaurants or contractors may have online, and then think about what might happen to doctors. As yeah, go use it. Give you 5 minutes. 2 minutes, actually. You only need 2 minutes.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so basically, like, how does contracts?
How do Yelp reviews affect?
No, how would Yat reviews affect?
I think he wants us to discuss how if you treat your patients. No.
I don't know.
He wants us to discuss how doctors interact with patients different to customers.
I've said the customers view the doctors bad Yelp reviews, and the doctors would and the hospitals would go online, and then everyone would die. So they have a
I mean, that makes sense. Dennis and Baby Max.
What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on the rest of
I suspect there's a way to make a lot of people work. But, I mean, I took no, I didn't take a course. I was in a course with someone who also taught administrative medicine and also teaching business. And they were like in medical administration. Like, believe it or not, their job is insurance. But they said the one area they don't tackle is where it comes to healthcare. Because you can't shop around. Universal healthcare makes things cheaper.
Yeah,
Canada though is weird.
but I also think that just because it's free, that it's not as good as it can be. Because the wait time in the ER is literally 22 hours.
Yeah.
And that's not acceptable.
What is the wait time in the US?
It's probably less than 22 hours.
When they report wait times in the US, let's say you have a surgery. Because right now in Canada, especially after COVID, a lot of places are closed. Let's say you need a particular surgery, not surgery, you need to like have a surgery. Wait times in the US are often reported as being quite low because those are people considered surgery. But what they don't report is all the people who need a surgery that have to be approved for it because they don't have the right insurance. And to be fair, those ones have to be approved. So when did they get it? Wait times in the US are significantly longer than universal health. Significantly. Because there are people who don't get care. So in an ethical model, what they usually look at is if you were going to be born to a random family in this country, would things still be fair? So Switzerland has a dual model. If I was born in Switzerland and I have no money, I'm still going to get health. If I have money, I'm still going to get health. Maybe I get a private room and a TV and if I'm born in Canada, pretty much I'm going to have health. Now Canada doesn't have the best model. There's a graph that shows the difference right there. And absolutely our times need to decrease. Some of that comes from rural countries. So like if you're living in a country, your emergency rooms are poorly staffed because nobody wants to live there. Who's a doctor? So yeah, but it is always cheaper if everybody pays. It's a bit like car insurance. If you have a bunch of different car insurance, so BC has like lots of people who provide car insurance, but they all work through ICBC, and then it helps keep everybody's costs low because people don't sue as much when everybody has the same system, and then everybody sort of gets covered. But yeah, no, there's also problems. You also want competition of doctors to like get new surgeries and other kinds of things. And so, are you encouraging that in other ways too? Where do you like? Where did you grow up that you knew?
I moved to Canada.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, there's lots of problems.
I think that I think Canada's the whole world like understaffed.
Yeah.
Because like with the New York one, our topic was how like healthcare staff is good.
Yeah.
And I did research in Africa there's 2 doctors per 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Which is
Good.
Yeah.
Also, Canada suffers from a real problem that we're next to the U.S.
Yeah, I think
So
that
if you can
Canada's
get
like,
paid more, you would move to the U.S. And then that sucks away your doctors.
I think there's like incentive to like go to like rural areas actually.
Yeah. It recently became a little bit better in Canada. They changed the law slightly, but it's still not sufficient. But we lost a nurse here, which is good. We're glad we did. But the school was like, you go work up north in this town, we'll pay off your college, we'll give you this salary, which is really nice, and you only have to do it for 5 years. We had a nurse up there, and she was like really good. She worked, she was working here, and she had hobbies. So there are mechanisms that they do. Okay, am I getting your attention? Yes, volunteers. Go. Whoa, I want everybody else? Ben? Yep.
So I feel like rich people would get better treatment or get the only treatment. So then the rich people get healthy again, poor people can afford it, so they get healthier and are sick. So they can work for the rich people. And then it's just like when they can't work for the rich people get poor because they don't have workers because they're all sick and injured and so eventually it will all collapse and break down.
Yeah, well, you're speaking to a larger problem. So you've got a, I was thinking of a more granular focus, but yes, if your workforce isn't being healthy, it's going to cost your industry more. One of the advantages of having, and this is one of the arguments, pro-capitalistic arguments for universalized healthcare or some sort of healthcare system is that if you have a healthy workforce, you end up making more money overall as a country. Your GDP goes up. Ben? This is here, for example, we have a very how can I put it? Strong work ethic. If you are sick, especially as a teacher, and we encourage the students, if you just got a cold or something, put on a mask, go to class. If you are better, obviously go to class. But we don't want you to get other people sick. There's a ton of studies that came out 50s, 60s, 70s, and for a while it made a bit of a difference when people said, if your employees are sick, make them stay home. Not give them the chance to stay home, pay them to stay home, because they will get the rest of your workforce sick, and you'll end up losing more money. And they paid attention to that for a while, but I think there's a cultural divide. It quickly shifted back to, you should just be seen to be working really hard. Have any of you had the experience where you have been genuinely sick, and then someone reported to somebody that you were seen going uptown, enjoying yourself with friends, or otherwise looking like you were having some sort of fun, and therefore you were not sick? Anybody ever experienced that? Some of you? What was yours?
Well, like when, well, I guess it's kind of different at boarding school. But when you stay home and your parents like take away the TV or like video games, because obviously you can't do that if you're sick.
If you're a day student, I strongly recommend you instead watch the classic movie, documentary really, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
What else?
You had one? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like when you're sick and your parents just expect you to spend like all day in bed, even like only if you like laugh or something because you saw a funny TikTok. It's like, oh, you're not sick, you laugh.
I get emails all the time from a student I know is sick. Like I know, I heard them throwing up. They're awful, and they start to feel better, and they go for a walk, and I'll get an email from the teacher. They missed a test today. I saw them going up to Hamlet, 403. Yes. Probably just wanted to get outside after being in a vomit-smelling room.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that strong work ethic to do. So sometimes we make bad decisions based on our culture. Other groups? Yes.
We were talking about how like the doctors would be like very personal because they would be like customers. They would just try to get them in and out, and like the care wouldn't be as good. And
Oh, so are you saying into the restaurant model that the doctors would be more personal?
no, less.
Less personal?
Yeah. So just customers.
Just get them out as fast as
Yeah.
possible. Okay. Any others? Do things as fast as possible. And there, Becker?
If your employer might be because of this like contracts, but it's
Hold on,
always
I still hear lots of noise. Go.
we think that because in this contract it's all based on money.
Yeah.
The main priority for the doctor was like it's gonna be getting paid and they like pay a amount of money, and it's not gonna be you the first priority, like you getting better, but the money you give them.
Very good. So, give you an example. Since you thought of that one, here's a practical example. Patient comes in, says, my child here is desperately ill, they have a cold. Please prescribe antibiotics. Now, if you don't know, do you prescribe antibiotics for viral infection?
No.
No, it's actually bad medical practice. It will increase, Zane, what are you doing? Face that way. You're not allowed to turn around. What would be the if there's a financial incentive, what would the doctor want to do?
Probably just give an antibiotic. You're gonna get paid anyway.
You're gonna get paid. You might even get paid a little bit more. Patient's happy. You're happy.
Whatever.
Here. Examples you came up with.
I was in that.
We were here for whole minutes that you were here.
Can you say the question?
It's okay. We didn't do the discussion. I'll move over here. We did. Did we do here? Are you here?
We didn't even discuss this.
Pardon?
We didn't even discuss this.
No, just now.
He
Okay,
has a
so
good point.
so if it's like customers and stuff,
Yeah.
then the customers will give the doctors bad Yelp reviews,
Bad Yelp reviews.
and then they'll go out of business, and everyone's gonna die because they're doctors.
Yeah. This
It
is
is how it works.
Yeah, this is starting to get into the agency and engineering model. So I'm going to add it to this one. Bad Yelp reviews. Should a doctor be subject to market forces? Yes, they might be a bad doctor, and that should be looked at by an ethics committee or a doctor. But if you go in and you want antibiotics, and you don't get antibiotics, that might be the best medical decision, but it's the worst customer satisfaction decision. A restaurant can just please the customer. When you come in, they will say, they will just make sure that you're happy. And they're allowed to do lots of techniques to do that in another context would probably be highly unethical. There and then there. Yep.
But is the doctor's job to like make sure the patient doesn't die?
Yes.
Do the right thing?
Yes.
More than making sure they're happy? Right? Like if say I want antibiotics, but I shouldn't get them.
Yeah.
I say I want antibiotics, but
Yeah.
but the doctor knows if he gives them to me, then I can get more sick.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
should
well,
give them to me, right?
if I give you antibiotics, you're probably not going to die.
Well,
You're probably not going to get more sick.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. But Yelp reviews, if you know you're going to get a bad Yelp review, what are you likely to do? It's just another
But would
pressure
you-
on the doctor.
Would you give a doctor a Yelp review? Though? That's my.
And right now in the US, yes,
Really?
they get Yelp reviews.
That's stupid.
You can find Google reviews because now on Google Maps you can review anything.
They do
So,
it here
so
too.
there's Google reviews on our local hospital,
There's an ebook.
but it doesn't affect them because it doesn't affect how much money they make. Like it's not based on that. Yeah. Pardon?
That's like the only hospital in the area.
Yeah. And they don't hire doctors or anything based on Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
But if you have a contractual model where you have to find customers, maybe that would make a difference. And there are doctors, the YouTube video I wanted to show, he is complaining about the fact that when they get bad reviews, the patients are blaming the doctors, and the doctors actually have no idea what anything's going to cost because they're not part of that system,
Yeah.
but they get all the blame. And then they feel the pressure to make sure that the customers are happy. Yep, you were next and then there. No, we haven't. I'll go back. Because we were still on contractual model. But it worked better in the friendship model. I'll get down to the other, sorry, agency engineering model.
Like reviews happen like my dad, like he's a doctor and like he gets like reviews and stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it affect how getting
like,
patients?
it doesn't affect the pay, but it affects like if a patient is gonna like choose you as their family doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I feel like for the good, it'd be like it's good that they can access them like 24/7 instead of like having to wait for a doctor.
Yeah, having healthcare all the time. Where does your dad work?
Like in a rural place.
No, but where? Specific, what?
Like in a hospital.
BC, Alberta?
Alberta.
Alberta. And they have a 24, and he's available 24 hours a day, or they have it staffed 24 hours a day?
Like in the hospital,
Yeah.
it's staffed, and then there's also like he also runs a clinic. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but like
Okay.
I guess like probably 24 hours.
There's enough now, like Google and other such ways, that you can review almost anybody as long as they provide a service and you can match them to a location. There's a particular surgeon, for example, that works out of, it wasn't Abbotsford, next to. I went there with someone, they had snapped their ankle hiking, so their leg looked like this.
Nice.
And within 2 hours, they had it straightened, and they put a rod in, and they did the surgery. The surgeon was fantastic. He's considered one of the best in BC. They just happened to be really lucky that they went there, or at least that's what the nurses said. But the reviews were terrible. He had terrible bedside manner. I would never want to speak to this person for a conversation ever. Awful person. However, very good doctor. As long as not quite Dr. House, he wasn't a complete jerk. He just talked in Dr. Ease, didn't explain really what was going on, and we constantly had to ask the nurses to re-explain things because he didn't really care to talk to the lowly people. Other groups, something different. Last one, if you have a contractual model, is the doctors are often not in control of it. So they're getting the blame, but the insurance company actually decides in many cases what they're going to cover. So you phone up the insurance company and says, I've prescribed my patient this drug. And the insurance company says, no, please provide us the 7 pages of documentation. We're denying the coverage until you do X, Y, or Z. These are made not by doctors, but they want to put in a barrier for anything they feel is expensive. So you lose a little bit of your ability to prescribe things. And a lot of the video I wanted to show was him complaining about the fact that a lot of the feedback they're getting is from the insurance, from the contract itself, stuff they have no control over. Okay, everybody have this down, or a version of it? Point form. Okay, next model. Friendship model. This is often comes out of ethics of care. If you think back to the beginning, and that you form a relationship with your patients. And in the friendship model, it is based on the idea that friends take care of each other. You have trust, you have goodwill. We give and ask advice to our friends. We problem solve with our friends. We trust our friends with our belongings and our lives. We share duties with our friends, childcare, partner advice. This would be very much the family doctor that you've known for like ages. They've raised your family with you because you've gone in and seen the same doctor all your life in the small town. You invite them over for dinner. You are good friends with your doctor. Friendship model. That's the relationship they have.
This is a non-ethics question.
Okay.
When do you know when to use like a dash when like typing? Like no, between non and ethics? Or a hyphen, sorry, not that.
If there would be, first of all, if it's not a normal word, sometimes people put a dash there because if non-medical doesn't exist, and then over time the dash will disappear and it becomes its own word. And sometimes you put a dash because you want to make sure that you know which word that it is applying to. So the best example I can think of in sort of English, if I said, oh man, that person has a cool ass car. Is it a cool ass car? Or is it a cool ass car? Like some sort of car with an amazing ass on it. And the dash really separates out the meaning of that, right? So there's some sentences you have to have a dash in. That one, you could probably get rid of it. It wouldn't really matter. It wouldn't change the meaning of the sentence. Yeah.
What do you put cool dash ass dash car?
Then I don't really know what you're saying because I don't think you need it. Another example of English, why do you have to use commas? In a description of the diet of a koala, and it eats shoots and leaves. You don't have a comma in there. It eats shoots and then leaves. Or does it eat shoots and leaves, which are 2 parts of its diet? English can get really weird if you don't have commas and dashes. I think I'll erase that because I definitely don't want this to be on my permanent record.
I think you were live.
No.
No?
Maybe I'll edit it later.
No.
The doctor's duty starts in the personal relationship they have with the patient. They're friends, and so you know that they're going to, it isn't purely a profit motive, because yeah, they're going to get paid, but they have your trust, goodwill, and best interests in heart. You're friends. It starts with a friendship model of building trust, and that defines the doctor-patient relationship. Oh, before I go away from it entirely, I did want to go back to, because the last thing, was it that one? No. We can get rid of that one, in fact. Free up a bit of memory. Was it that one? when we're looking at, and this only goes until 2018, and so I'd want newer data than this, because what amazing thing happened after 2018? COVID. So that has caused doctor and nurses shortages throughout the world. But if we look at life expectancy over amount spent, we often get away with saying, well, we're doing at least better than the States. We're getting more efficient money. And that's a terrible, terrible. Canada has actually dropped since that time in here. And we should be looking at some of these other countries. So if you're looking to get better across the pond, what is New Zealand doing? What is Australia doing? What is Japan doing? Again, some of it might be cultural. If you're eating more fish and vegetables as opposed to hamburgers and poutine, you're probably going to have a better life expectancy. So there's some things in the culture you may not be able to change. And I think there's someone in this room that would strongly encourage everybody to eat poutine. Any special deals you have for members of the Science and Ethics class?
40% off the first one.
40% off the first one. Profit motive. Put him under the spotlight. Nice. Well done. Just give him a hand. Don't worry. I know Olivier's in this group, and I don't think there's any way he's going to go for that. So, let's, I haven't done attendance yet, but let's put you in little different groups, because you've just been sitting around with the same people. What is the yelling? Karen, please put that away. I don't want to go into a what? Zoe? Go in any group you want. Everybody else, find your people. Find your people. Find your people. Mix yourselves up. You have a couple minutes. It won't be too long.
Just stand up.
Stand up. Find your people. Decide where to sit. Archie, stand up. Kieran.
This is our group.
Stand up. Find your people.
You guys go away.
Are you
there? You can go in any group, I said. Because you're off by yourself. So, yes. Excellent. Okay, for this. At least one good thing, at least one bad thing. Just a minute. Or 2 minutes. Yeah, what's good and bad about the friendship model?
Yeah, friends like friends are if like a doctor's friends with their patient, they might like put their patient on. There can be a bias, like bias. But then if you're doctor's your friend, whoa. Too many. Nah, if a friend is your doctor, it was like, yo. It was like, how many? But he like dude. Hypothetically, I think we need to do this more general. That's pretty specific. Yeah. Isn't it a prostate?
What? Okay, get into the group. I want to stop you in about 3 minutes.
Since they like you more,
Yeah.
Because they're not treating
Less efficient.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's true.
Okay.
Have cancer.
Emily, stop. I'm just gonna go around.
I think we could.
Give me a good thing or give me a bad thing, whatever your point is. Hopefully, between all of us, we get a variety of things. I've been starting the back and I've started the front. I've never started in the middle. Go.
I think it's bad. It like takes a long time. If you have to like get a relationship with like every single patient, so it could also like get confusing.
Less efficient.
It would take time. You'd have to be, that would be a problem in that model. Here? Is this a middle group here?
Yeah.
Go,
Yes.
yes.
You want one good, one bad?
One good, one bad?
Okay, the bad thing is the doctor can like violate their trust really easily. Like we can be like, oh, and then do something sneaky.
But they're your friends.
Well, exactly. That's
Okay,
the
so what
thing.
you're saying is friends are untrustworthy.
Yes. And the patient could like ask for too much because they're like, oh, we're friends. They do that for me. But then they ask for something. I was like, I can't get you free chemo or something.
I like that friends expect more. Can you just, the first one, I'm not getting this one. You're saying there, what would a doctor who's your friend might do? That would be bad. Like, what would they do as your friend that would be sneaky? I think I thought of one, but I'll wait and see if it comes up, see if you think of it. Shh. Are you in this? Yeah?
They probably like take really good care of you because they have like the best.
Take good care of you? Because Zane? Berger? And Katie? Yes? Your group?
One for bad could be
No,
like
that was two.
if you broke your arm and there's like another person who broke like both their legs, the doctor might treat you before the other people because like you have more value to them.
So it's good for you, but it's bad for the person who's doing it.
And if you didn't, and you're in a strange region, so triage based on friends, not need. Good point. Yep.
I think it would be good because it makes the patient more comfortable, maybe.
Patient comfortable. I mean, this is someone who knows them. They would probably make better decisions in guessing what way you would want. Yes.
But
And
also,
then, yeah.
like, I feel like if you have like a really like disgusting condition,
Or like something you don't
Like personal
like I feel
comfort.
like, yeah.
like for example when you give birth and then it's like your uncle like you go over it like
This is under bad.
what if also make you more uncomfortable?
I don't think we have any other options.
Sure. There are one of the problems we have in advertising to the youth is that you may have family doctors that you've grown up with, but you won't go to them for things like sexual health or something's gone really bad, and you're like, I don't want them to know because they're my good friend. I don't want them to feel less of me. So yeah, fair. Ben, you were next in there.
Like a good thing is that like you know that you'll be like prioritized over other people.
You'll be prioritized. They care. And there.
Patient might be less likely to verify if they trust their doctor.
What do you mean less likely to verify?
So they'll just like blindly accept what the doctor says to them. They won't like do their own research and stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to fact check your friends. Last comment to Timmy, because I think I pointed at you, and then it's going to be lunch. Go. For who? A lot of commitment.
No. What?
Excellent. As you're packing up, a parting thought with this. Imagine if you were Dr. House's friend, who was a cancer doctor, and he had a deep personal relationship with every cancer patient he treated. All his friends are. Oh, God, yeah, pretty much.